Welcome to Solutions to Aging, the program that reveals secrets to longevity and age reversal. Each week, this show focuses on the latest news and research in medicine, nutrition science, body hygiene, exercise, skin care, oxygen, supplementation, drinking water purification, as well as mental and spiritual practices. I'm your host, Stuart Spangenberg. You're a 49-year-old licensed psychotherapist, optimum wellness coach, and certified health nut. Be sure you visit my newly revamped website at www.solutionstoaging.com. Let me introduce my guest tonight, Andreas Moritz, who is a very well-known natural health practitioner, and he has been a featured writer on CureZone.com. Maybe you have visited that site if you are looking for home remedies and do-it-yourself health advice. Andreas has all kinds of posts in the free health forum under Ask Andreas Moritz at www.curezone.com. But he's more than that. He is, oh my gosh, for probably close to 40 years now, been extremely involved in health and wellness, and is an authority on a variety of natural approaches. And he's also a very accomplished author. He's written a book, Ending the AIDS Myth, Diabetes No More, Simple Steps to Total Health, Heart Disease No More, Cancer is Not a Disease, It's a Survival Mechanism, It's Time to Come Alive, Lifting the Veil of Duality, Your Guide to Living Without Judgment, Timeless Secrets of Health and Rejuvenation, a new edition that's 550 pages, and one of his best-known books, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush. Some of these books have been written in other languages and are available all over the world. So Andreas is a popular and well-known practitioner and writer, and I'm absolutely delighted to have him on the show. Welcome, Andreas.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So the top of the list here is your book, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush. Maybe I should ask you first what is the relationship between having a healthy liver and ageless living?
That's a wonderful question. It probably would take days to discuss that. But basically, the liver is responsible for nourishing the cells in the body. So every single nutrient that the cells receive has to be passed to the liver, and the liver is converting it into useful substances that eventually will sustain the life of the cells. So for the cells to be vital and to be young and energetic, the liver has to function very well. And if the liver is congested, that function diminishes. The ability to pass these nutrients to the cells becomes lessened, and that means the cells will run out of nutrients. And once they have a lack of nutrient supplies, they will go into a lower mode of functioning. Their metabolism becomes disturbed. They may not be able to get rid of all the metabolic waste products they need to, and this creates a very, very strong force of destruction that we call aging.
Wow. Wonderful answer there. So it sounds like this is something that we really need to pay attention to then, is maintaining the health of our liver and trying to keep it clean and free of congestion?
Absolutely. The liver is such an important organ. It's the biggest organ in our body, really. It's the heaviest organ. It is huge. It spans from the right side all the way to the left across the middle section of the abdomen. And it is filled with blood, and particularly at certain times of the night while you sleep. And it's basically sucks up all the blood from various parts of the body, including the muscles, the bones, and the back of the brain, which holds the most blood, relatively. And so during the nighttime when you sleep, and that happens especially between 10 and 2, that's why it's so important to sleep early, to allow the liver to receive the blood from different parts of the body, including also from the digestive system, because we don't need to digest food at night. We are not supposed to digest food at night, so we should have a light evening meal and not too close to the bedtime, so that the liver receives all that blood, and then the liver works with it. And it has 500 different jobs to do. So one of the most important one is to cleanse the blood. And there are lots of harmful substances that pass through from various parts of the body into the blood, and the liver is the filtering organ, number one, for blood. So it has specialized cells that mop up these harmful elements, as well as infectious organisms that reach the liver from the gut. There are waste products. There are medicinal, like medications that the liver has to break down. There are contaminants in water, in food, like pesticides, and the liver is in charge of breaking down all those noxious and harmful substances. It also breaks down, things that the body produces naturally, and it has to synthesize proteins to reassemble them, to reorganize them. It makes 1,000 different enzyme systems, so it is very, very busy. Also keeps the bloodstream thin enough, and if it gets too thick, then it reduces the thickness. So it modifies the blood on a constant basis, and we have about 3 pints of blood per minute going through the liver. So it's a very, very busy organ. And you can imagine it's like a huge factory that produces like 500 different goods.
Wow.
And that's an enormous feat.
It's amazing. So it sounds like this is something that, for those of us that are interested in anti-aging and, actually reversing our biological age, and this is one organ we really need to pay a lot of attention to. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. It's quite amazing the different kinds of, you can call them age-related problems, because that's really what it boils down to. If something goes wrong in the body, it is aging you. If there is any congestion in the bile ducts of the liver, it ages you much faster, because it is the central organ that keeps the body healthy and strong and nourished and vital. And it is controlling to a large extent the immune system, the brain and nervous system, the blood circulation, or the circulatory system, the lymphatic system totally depends on the liver function. The bile, which is the liver's outlet for toxins, and at the same time the principal substance that regulates the digestive process. If you make a lot of bile, and bile is a greenish yellowish fluid that is then passed from the liver into the gallbladder collects the bile, it changes it, it makes the thin bile very, very thick. So it removes about 90% of the water content from the bile, and then when you eat a meal, then the gallbladder starts pumping that bile into the small intestine. Now, once it's going into what is known as the common bile duct, it combines with pancreatic juices, which contain the enzymes that you need to digest your food with. And so the two, the bile and the pancreatic juices, they combine before they move into the small intestine. And this is because the bile has to activate the digestive enzymes before they can actually digest your food. And so if you have less bile coming in because your bile ducts are clogged up, and we can discuss that in a minute, then your ability to activate these digestive enzymes diminishes. The stomach also depends on how much bile there is in the gallbladder, or that is produced in the liver, and so your hydrochloric acid will be the amount of hydrochloric acid is determined by how much bile is coming out of the liver. So the bile is very, very, very important for the digestive process. Now imagine if you're not making enough bile, or it's not enough is coming out because of blockages hindering the secretion of bile, then now your digestive ability diminishes. And that causes a lot of putrefaction or fermentation of your food which will then be decomposed by bacteria, and these bacteria produce a lot of poisons, and these poisons are passed into the lymphatic system, which causes lymph drainage problems. And then your body is no longer able to get rid of even the daily produced metabolic waste products, such as urea, ammonia, the uric acid, lactic acid, oxalic acid. So these are all very powerful acids that the cells need to get rid of, and if the drainage system, the lymphatic system, can no longer take them away, then you will have an accumulation of those acidic compounds in the cell environment, which causes aging of the cells or deterioration, diminishing their ability to take up nutrients and oxygen. And so all of that will cause an inefficient body. And once the body becomes stiff and pain or develops lymph congestion, then eventually you will develop symptoms of some kind of illness. And there are 40,000 different names now for illnesses. But basically, there are only very few causes of that. And the most common cause is lymphatic congestion. And that has everything to do with how your digestive system works.
Wow.
That brings us back to the liver.
Sure, and what an elegant description. I mean, it's just talking about, congestion in the biliary ducts of our liver and, limited secretion of bile. What a cascade of problems can take place just because we're not having enough bile present in the digestive process. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's absolutely marvelous the way the body has organized itself. And looking at the tiny organ gallbladder, that so many people have surgically removed as if it wasn't really important. You can live without it, yes, but lack of bile secretion or blockages in the gallbladder, the accumulated stones that 20 million or 25 million Americans now have, that causes a host of problems. Many people don't even know that they have these stones. Many of the stones, they are even not detectable by ultrasound and X-rays, and they are called the cholesterol stones. Yet they block the flow of bile out of the liver, or they don't allow the gallbladder to take up enough bile. And that simple thing can cause problems such as low appetite or food cravings, and digestive disorders of any kind, diarrhea, constipation, can cause hernias, flatulence, hemorrhoids, breathing difficulties as the liver is unable to remove the stones that accumulate in the bile ducts of the liver. Then the liver becomes enlarged. It puts pressure on the diaphragm. The diaphragm no longer allows the breathing to take place properly. You cannot take deep breaths anymore. You basically breathe in a shallow manner, and that leads to oxygen deficiency on the cellular level. Again, another root cause of aging. Then you can have liver damage, liver cirrhosis, hepatitis. Most people think hepatitis is caused by viruses, but viruses come after the damage has already occurred. They only infect cells or the nucleus of cells of damaged cells. They don't go after healthy ones. So once they have a significant portion or part of the liver being very congested because the bile ducts are clogged up, then you have backwashing of toxins into the tissues of the liver, and they become, these toxins basically make it impossible for the cells to function well and to have a healthy effectiveness in terms of purifying the blood and manufacturing different hormones and making sure that the waste products are removed from the system. And so all those different things then can lead to contamination of the liver, and then infectious bacteria sometimes, or the viral material will accumulate in the liver that helps to break down these damaged cells to prevent them from becoming cancer cells. So it's ingenious that sometimes what we think is a disease process is actually part of the healing process or compensation mechanism that the body engages in, while even asking for help from microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, or viruses. And then you can have various infections in the body when the immune system becomes depressed. The immune system is directly influenced by the liver. You can have pancreatitis directly, again, when stones are passing from the liver into the pancreatic duct. Then it blocks the exit for pancreatic juices, and that forces those enzymes to stay inside the pancreas and infect and inflame the pancreas cells. And then you have the pancreatitis.
And so many doctors don't give you explanations as to why you have pancreatitis, you know. They'll ask you, well, have you been drinking heavily? And if you're not, they don't give you too many other answers for the reason.
No, they don't, because they're not trained to look for root causes of health problems. They just say, well, you have this problem and we have to suppress it. We have to treat it away, which is the worst thing you can do, because once you suppress a symptom, which is related to, let's say, what I just mentioned, liver issues. Most diseases are liver-related.
And then, that's really hard for people to wrap their head around, I think, that most things are liver-related. I just want to interject here because I think it's the perfect time to mention this, and that is, lots of clients will talk to me, solutions to aging. Well, I just want to have, younger and nicer skin. I want my skin to clear up. I don't want this eczema, or I'm having problems with psoriasis or whatever. And, and I say, well, the best approach to do this is really from the inside out. You're only going to be able to go so far with topical applications of things. The process has to be addressed from the inside out, and usually, it's an issue of a toxic liver if you're having skin stuff. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a straightforward thing. You have toxic blood. Now, if the liver is unable to remove the toxins from the blood, then the skin has to take over that function of the liver. So you have a couple of major organs of elimination. In fact, most of the body is geared towards elimination. So we have, for example, we have the lungs, obviously, that take up oxygen and then eliminate carbon dioxide, which is a toxin. And if you accumulate too much of it, you can damage your body. You become acidified. The other thing is that the bloodstream, if it carries the daily produced the metabolic waste products and the liver is not fishing them out of the blood, then they will end up going through the kidneys and also through the skin. And so the skin will try to eliminate them, but in the meantime it will become damaged. You have the saying that liver spots. People call them liver spots. Why do they call them liver spots? They are age spots. Well, they call them age spots. But has that something to do with aging, natural aging? No. The aging that we define as deterioration of the body is basically caused by an accumulation of toxins that the liver particularly is not able to remove from the blood. And the blood then has to dump these toxins into the softer tissues, the connective tissues, and from there they make their way through into the skin, because the skin is an eliminative organ, and primarily. So it's not just getting rid of sweat, it can get rid of other things, but certain things should never go into the skin. If they do, they cause skin disorders.
Wow, another great and elegant description as to why we have skin disorders. And sadly, I remember at one time in my life I had problems with eczema on my feet, of all places, and I remember, this is going back a ways, 25 years or more, going to dermatologists and they would give me these steroid creams which would, have the anti-inflammatory effect of suppressing the symptoms, and and the skin would temporarily improve and, of course, get thinner, and then they would tell you they would confiscate this wonderful cream from you, just after you began to have progress, they said, oh, you can't take it too long because of all the side effects. And then, the symptoms would inevitably return, and it just became this crazy cycle.
Mm. Yes, it's quite amazing. And, also when you look at, the skin really shows what's going on inside the body. The internal skin, which is basically everything from the mouth to the anus, that's your internal skin. If you have any irritation or inflammation in the internal skin, you will have the corresponding parts of the body that relate to that in the external skin as well. So, for example, if you had a red nose, right, you will have a lot of small intestinal problems. So if you have an inflammation in the blood vessels of the small intestine, it will show up on the tip of your nose. If you have some in your chin area, you also have the lower intestines getting affected and your reproductive organs. So there is skin in the inside of the body. Any lack of nourishment of that skin, that internal skin, will lead to the same problem in the external skin, and it will show. So the abnormal changes on the external skin, it's literally, you look in a mirror, you look into the inside of the body. And therefore, once you make that those changes that help to rejuvenate the internal skin by eating a healthful diet, by allowing the liver to work at night, to sleep so that the liver can do its work, so it can detoxify the blood, and then the blood is free of waste products and doesn't have to dump them into the tissues of the organs, the internal organs. Usually the digestive organs are the first ones to be affected, and then other organs that are not directly related to that, like the lungs. What have the lungs to do with the large intestine? Most people have no clue, and most doctors don't have a clue. But they are starting to realize that if you have your constipation, for example, your lungs going to get affected. They're going to get congested too. So you will have basically one of the organs blocked up, so the exit route for waste products in the body is closed, and it's like a river that is stopped by a dam. Then the water is backwashing, and likewise the waste products, toxins, bacteria, harmful substances that bacteria produce, they are starting to be backwashed all the way up through the small intestine into the stomach. I had a person bringing up fecal matter through the mouth.
Oh my goodness.
And it's not just bad breath that people have. That shows that they have gastrointestinal problems, that they're not digesting their food well. There's not enough bile to digest their food with. And so they basically have regurgitating waste products that enter the chest area, that move into the throat, into the auditory ducts, that can cause hearing problems, that can move up into the teeth, that cause tooth decay from the inside out. They can move up into the nose and sinuses, clog up the nose, so you can't breathe properly, you don't get enough oxygen anymore in the rest of the body. And then you can have the toxins and waste products even moving behind the eyes, putting pressure on the eyes, can cause eye problems, vision problems, and problems with tears, not tearing enough, dry eyes. So it's a very common problem nowadays. And then moving all the way up into the hair follicles and even block them, and causing the hair to lose. You basically lose your hair where the hair follicles can no longer hold on to it and to nourish it and to maintain it and to allow it to continue to grow, and can go into the brain and nervous system. So the whole body is depending on what happens in such organs as the colon. If the colon gets affected, the rest of the body does get affected too.
So when we're talking about the liver and gallbladder flush, I mean, who needs it? Who is a candidate for this?
In this country, almost everyone. Because, see, we have, just looking, people drinking water they think it looks clean, it must be clean. We have now so many drugs, medical drugs, that the pharmaceutical industry is dumping every year because they can no longer sell those drugs. They have to dump them because they're outdated, and it goes into the waterways. So people in big cities drinking water from the tap, they are getting drugged up. And then there's fluoride in that, chlorine in it, which are real poisons for the body. And then other particles that never should be in the water. So simply just the water part, not even talking about the food. So people nowadays, they cannot be healthy in this kind of society that we are running here. Then we have the food additives, the trans fatty acids from all the heated fats that come in, which the body cannot eliminate, by the way. And these fatty acids that result from overheating fats, like fried foods or canola oil, which is genetically altered oil, modified oil. It doesn't exist in nature. It is being heat treated, so to detoxify the rapeseed oil that it comes from.
Right. There's no such thing as a canola.
Canola oil, yes. Canola is in name, basically is Canada oil. It was made in Canada. It was introduced into the American market overnight without anyone knowing about it, without any prior tests. It's a completely genetically modified oil, and it was called canola oil because women would never have bought rapeseed oil.
Right. Who wants to buy rapeseed oil?
So rape, well, you can't sell something with rape. Nobody would buy it. But canola oil sounds great. Canada oil, canola oil. So, these are the things that are used now in restaurants because it's the cheapest oil. And it was marketed as a health food because it has low cholesterol. I would stay away from anything that has low cholesterol because once you do that, your liver is forced to mass-produce cholesterol, and your cholesterol levels are going to go up. So it's not an advantage to lowering your cholesterol intake. The liver can make 400% cholesterol per day, whereas eating a pound of butter will get it up by 0.1%. So there is no comparison. If you eat too little cholesterol, the body will make more. So it's not really directly influencing the cholesterol levels. But if you are eating foods that clog up your blood vessels, including the blood vessels in the liver, then the circulating cholesterol in the blood can no longer escape the bloodstream, and because it can no longer go through the little holes that are in the liver blood vessels. They're called sinusoids, the liver blood vessels. And so the cholesterol molecules will stay put in the bloodstream. They cannot leave the bloodstream in the liver. The liver needs those cholesterol molecules in order to make bile. Now, when you're depriving the liver of the cholesterol, the liver says, hey, we are not getting enough cholesterol anymore, we have to make more. So the liver starts manufacturing more and more cholesterol, which adds up to more cholesterol in the blood, and your cholesterol levels go up. This is to no extent a problem for the body in reality, because the cholesterol is used to patch up wounds that are occurring in the arteries because of what people eat. Sugar and primarily animal proteins are damaging the blood vessels, creating lesions and wounds throughout the cardiovascular system, particularly in the coronary arteries where the blood pressure is the highest. And that's where you have these cholesterol molecules attaching themselves to those little wounds and lesions in order to seal them off, to prevent any blood clots, potentially blood clots, to move into the heart and cause a heart attack, or to move into the brain and cause a stroke. So to prevent that from happening, the cholesterol is dispatched to those areas to bandage them so that they are safe. They're keeping you safe. We call that arteriosclerosis. It's a myth. There is no arteriosclerosis as a disease. there's arteriosclerosis as a survival mechanism, as a protective mechanism. But we treat it as if it were a disease. So we're trying to get rid of the cholesterol, and then we open up those wounds and lesions again. And that's why lowering cholesterol is actually increasing the chances for developing heart attacks or having a stroke.
Boy, is that counterintuitive. That goes against all the things they teach us, isn't it?
Yes.
Interesting.
Common sense, but not to the medical community, because they are fed information, and that's what you learn in medical school, that these are the culprits of illness, and we should kill them, we should destroy them. Even so, now the new wave of understanding is that there's an inflammation inside the blood vessels that causes the damage of the blood vessels, and that creates an increase of certain proteins in the blood that shows that this kind of inflammation occurs. And this is really, you're now taking the whole heart disease thing to a different level, away from the cholesterol. So the latest study, the biggest study done on cholesterol or on heart disease, now no longer recommends to lower cholesterol, because it actually increases the risk of developing heart problems, particularly congestive heart failure, which is a slow motion death. It can take you 15 years to die, but you die every day a little more, because the heart becomes less and less efficient, becomes more and more congested, and that is caused by medical treatments, by lowering cholesterol, by lowering blood pressure artificially with medication, and by invasive treatments or even your heart surgery. So congestive heart failure, a completely new illness, and that is caused by the treatment of heart disease. Interesting, huh?
Wow. Now, back to this, your liver and gallbladder flush. Can you give us sort of a rundown of what does this really entail? Is it that hard to do? How long does it take? Let's see if we can get our listeners an idea of what this is all about and just how doable it is.
It's very doable. So it does involve a preparation period of about 6 days, where you eat a normal food. There are certain kinds of foods which are best not to eat, like animal protein foods or deep fried foods or a lot of sweets, which the liver has to break down sugar. Last week it was announced a big study that sent shockwaves through America, and it said that sugar basically shuts down the DNA for 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks. It shuts it down. So there's hardly any food that is capable of shutting down the DNA. Sugar, processed sugar does. So the liver is, particularly if the liver bile ducts are clogged up, then the liver cannot break down sugar, and this causes something like what diabetes does. It can make you blind, it can shut down different parts of the body. You literally get damaged from the inside out. So sugar is one of those. When you do the liver flush, you are eating, healthy, a good balanced diet, which is, written down in the book, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush. And you can then start on the 6th day, the process of actually flushing the liver. The preparation consists of taking some malic acid or apple juice in larger amounts that will soften up the stones in the bile ducts of the liver and in the gallbladder. And on the 6th day, the actual day of the flush, you begin to use a process of drinking some Epsom salts twice in the evening at 6 o'clock and at 8 o'clock. And then that will help to relax the bile ducts, and will also make sure that there is a good flow and movement throughout the gastrointestinal tract. So by the time you ingest the main ingredients of the liver flush, which is olive oil and some citric juice, like lemon juice or orange juice or combined lemon and orange juice or grapefruit juice, and then you would drink that down as quickly as you can at around 10 o'clock, and then you lie down on the right side or on the back on the back, you're just lying flat and relaxed with the head lifted up a little bit, and then for you do that for about 30 minutes, and usually most people fall asleep at that stage. And if you're lucky, you'll sleep throughout the night. However, you might be woken up and you have to go to the bathroom and relieve yourself, and you may already find that there are stones coming out of you.
Stones? Now, what are we looking at when we say stones here?
The stones, they can be of varied color and consistency and thickness and size. So there's anything from pinhead size to pea size, chickpea size, walnut size, and even larger.
Wow.
And so when they are
and different colors too, isn't that right?
Pardon me?
And they come in different colors, some of them.
Yes. They are most of them are typically pea green. So they're bright green, just like when you eat fresh peas. That's basically the color. Some have more yellowish or beige, tones to them. Some can be white, some can be black or dark green. These are very old stones. There can be bilirubin stones, which are red-black. There can be white stones. There can be calcified stones and semi-calcified stones that only come from the gallbladder. And these are the only ones that are visible to ultrasound and X-rays. All the other stones, they are invisible to those, diagnostic, tools, because bile is invisible. The ultrasound goes right through that. It's not reflected. It's not bouncing back. So you cannot basically detect the majority of the stones. And you can have thousands of them in the bile ducts of the liver. Thousands. I personally passed over 3,500 before my liver became clean. And it took me a series of 10 major liver flushes to completely clean out my liver. But my liver was not very healthy. My gallbladder was absolutely packed with stones, brim full. And the stones in my gallbladder led to frequent gallstone attacks, like one every couple of weeks or months. And so I had 40 gallstone attacks, which are extremely excruciating, painful. Normally, people would go to the emergency room, and the doctors would tell you, you have to get your gallbladder out. There's no other way. I never did that. I thought I needed to find a natural way to dispel them, and it worked. From my first liver flush, I never had a gallbladder attack again. And from that onwards, all the pains and aches in my body started disappearing. Most people have like right shoulder pain or pain in between the shoulder blades. They are related to the liver. There can be back pain. There can be scoliosis caused by an enlarged liver and gallbladder. I had a severe scoliosis, so my spine was literally sort of inverted. It was crooked and very, very painful. I never.
How long ago was this, Andreas?
I think I started 15 years ago with this process, and it took me about a year to completely clean out my liver, and so I've not had any stones since. So it's really paying off. There are remarkable. I'm getting emails from all over the world, about 150 a day, and many of them are reports by people that are just grateful for this process, which doesn't take you a lot of money, hardly anything. It's like having a McDonald's meal. It's ridiculous. Such a little expense on doing such a powerful cleanse that had taken people out of their wheelchairs. I had a person who was paralyzed for 20 years, did liver flushes, and they started walking again. They don't know why. But when you know that the body's healing capacity increases dramatically when the liver is clean, then the body can repair itself. It can fix nerves. There's an infinite capacity for the body to heal itself. A couple of months ago, I saw a person who has lost a finger, and he cut his finger off. He's a carpenter, and he showed basically how he how he had his finger regrown, completely regrown, with fingernail and the bones and everything. It looked like a brand new, new finger, and he could use it exactly like all his other fingers. And all he did, he put his hand his injured hand into clean water a couple of times a day, and he talked to his hand, and just encouraged it, and he didn't believe that it couldn't be regrown. And now, there is a new wing of medicine. It's called restorative medicine, where they actually were proven through scientific research that limbs can be regrown, and so they can now grow fingers again in 4 weeks. So I would encourage everyone who has severe damage from accidents or anything like that, that there is a definite opportunity and chance to rejuvenate the body and heal the body.
Well, it's a very inspiring story, and I'm sure it must, when you're around people who are constantly, emailing you and telling you about their great results and how these things help, you really feel like you're making a great contribution to people, and you certainly are doing that, Andreas. One of the things that I know that you've recently been doing is you've been recommending specific products to help people who are interested in the liver gallbladder flush. Did you want to say anything about that?
Yes, there's a new product out. Well, I don't know how old. I think it's been around for quite a while. I just came across it, and I'm very excited about it. It's olive gold 03, and it's basically ozonated olive oil. And when you expose the body internally or externally to ozone that breaks down into oxygen, it has an oxidizing effect on waste products, toxins, and it can accelerate the healing or the rejuvenation process quite substantially. And so I'm really looking at it with excitement. I don't have too much experience with it yet. I have to be honest with you, but I'm very, very excited about the prospects of delivering either through topical application, using that oil topically over the liver area. Particularly, have had some people who have done that. They put the olive oil over the liver just before they begin the flushing, the flush in the evening at 10 o'clock when they drink the olive oil mixture. And they find that the stones are released with great ease and more in numbers. That this is a very good application. They can also substitute the normal oil that they take. Let's say olive oil from the health food store or a grocery store with the olive oil that the olive gold 3, and I think you have that on your website. To use the 4-ounce bottle, the 4 ounces of olive oil instead of the other oil.
So what you're saying is that people are also, not only using the olive gold 03 topically, around the liver area and rubbing it on, other parts of their body, but that they can actually take it internally as part of the liver gallbladder flush, and then they're infusing all of this ozonated olive oil, which goes through and really helps oxidize and detoxify, and it's an amazing product. And it's only been around about 3 years, and I know, speaking personally, it's one of my favorite products, and I warn people that regardless of how you use it, you can use it, as I call, as a recreational healthy friend, because it actually has an addictive quality to it. If you use it topically, you begin to get the sort of what I call the oxygen buzz, where you can rub it on your skin, every day, and you just have this wonderful uplifted feeling as your oxygen levels increase, and the ozone is just so cell friendly in your body. It's like a novel way, really, to supplement oxygen.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the skin is such an organ that absorbs both the bad and the good. So if you had a shower and shower with chlorinated water, or you go into a pool that has chlorine in it, you absorb a massive amount of chlorine, much more than drinking a lot of water that has the chlorine in, like in restaurants, and so, or from the tap. So you're absorbing much more chlorine through the skin than you possibly could by drinking chlorinated water, because the skin delivers it right into the bloodstream, into the circulation, whereas the chlorinated water will be filtered out, via the liver and the kidneys, and so and it has to go through the intestinal wall. So a lot of that will basically be excreted, whereas the oil that you apply, the ozonated oil, will also deliver fresh, and large amounts of oxygen right into your bloodstream, and then it will be carried throughout the body. So it's quite a wonderful thing, particularly with illnesses that are related to oxygen deprivation, like cancer.
Yeah, it's we're having all kinds of fun with this product. It's really quite amazing, and I'm quite eager to try it with your liver gallbladder purge to see what kind of results I get by using the olive gold, and to that extent. That was really an exciting idea.
Yes, please keep me informed. I'm very eager to research this further.
Sure, absolutely. And by the way, I want to make sure that we mention that you can find any and all of Andreas Moritz's books at his website, correct? And that is www.Ener-Chi.com, and that's spelled E-N-E-R and a hyphen Chi, C-H-I.com, Ener-Chi.com. And these are wonderful books, and just absolutely something you'll always want. And I've already got on my wish list to get your Timeless Secrets of Health and Rejuvenation. I'm sure there's tons of gold nuggets in there. 550 pages. Wow.
Yeah, it's an oversized book, so it's a 8.5 by 11, so it makes it even twice as big. I just had it come out in Spanish by my Spanish publisher. And in the Spanish version, it's 800 pages. So but it sells like hotcakes. Everyone is just waiting for it, and it's people are, and it's in Russian, and it's are going to China, and so it's going out to larger portions of the world's population.
Well, that's just outstanding. It really is. I mean, and a lot of times I think that, Americans, we get in trouble because we become so reliant on conventional allopathic medicine that's practiced by our MDs. And that, and I'm not going to say everything that the MDs do is wrong or bad or anything like that. It's just that their training is rather limited, and they're kind of limited in what they can do to help people, especially those that have chronic conditions. And I think that's where, we really lack a great deal. And but in other countries where they don't even have that, in other words, even just conventional type medicine isn't as accessible. Oh my gosh, if you had a Bible like 550 pages, what did you say, 800 pages in the Spanish language, Timeless Secrets of Health and Rejuvenation that teach you how to do it yourself. Wow.
Yes, it's actually quite simple once you read it. It's not complicated, and there are simple things in there that, again, if you're into rejuvenation, that's why the title, Timeless Secrets of Health and Rejuvenation, there are the simplest things that you can think of, like get out in the sun. Now, there is one study after another coming through that tells you, well, you need to be out in the sun. It's no longer dangerous. It was proven that it can cause skin cancer. And if you don't wear sunglasses and if you don't put suntan lotion on your skin, you will actually produce vitamin D, which is keeping your body healthy and strong. It keeps your immune system in check. It controls 2,000 genes, one of which is produces the most broad spectrum antibiotic that exists on the planet, and it keeps your body free of any pathogens. The vitamin D is making sure your bones are healthy and they don't get brittle as you age. The vitamin D which is a steroid hormone, so that's it's not really a vitamin, it's just called vitamin D, which is only produced in response to sunlight. Nature never put it in the food, not even in breast milk, so that you would not have it pass through the gastrointestinal tract. You would actually produce it from underneath the skin. And so it's very, very important that we are out in the sun, because just like plants that are not in the sun, they wither away, so do people. And now they find that every single disease, almost every single disease, including heart disease and cancer particularly, all cancers, every cancer patient has low vitamin D levels.
Interesting.
So
I got to jump in here because in the interest of time here, Andreas, so I don't want us to run into the end of the show without me again thanking you for being on and letting people know how they can get in touch with you. They can visit your website at www.Ener-Chi.com. And they can also. I really recommend that folks you all go to the website curezone.com because that health forum has just oh man, how many posts have you made in CureZone over the years?
Well, I couldn't even count.
It's got to be hundreds and hundreds of them.
But I stopped a couple of years ago, so it's really only archived now. I have a frequently asked questions section on my website. So there are hundreds of, there are a couple of hundred pages as well.
Oh, okay.
And so it's and these are newer. They're like fresh.
Terrific. Well, that's a great place to get up-to-date information. And again, thank you for being on, Andreas. I look forward to having you on in the future. I'm sure we can come up with some other topics, couldn't we? And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Solutions to Aging.